Alright, listen up everyone. They've announced that the technical regulations are changing for next season. Now there's a risk a lot of our hard work could be undone if we're not careful, so let's figure out how to mitigate this. Drivers, take a look at the developments we have and let us know what you want to invest in protecting. Alright everyone, let's get on top of this.
Well, looks like the regulation change has been confirmed, and that is a big one to be fair. But yo guys, what is up? It is your boy, freshly shaved boy, Tom97 here, and we are back for some more My Team Career Mode. And let's jump into today's video because I'm looking forward to it. It's the Mexican Grand Prix. It's going to be really fun. The regulation change has now been confirmed, and things are set to get very exciting moving forward. If you guys missed the last episode, as always, I will leave a link up in the top right hand corner of your screen. And if you guys are excited for Season 2 with the regulation change, then drop me a like and subscribe if you are new, and let's get today's video underway. Now the first thing I noticed was, for some reason on the animation, my team garage was red, even though the colours are actually blue. Not quite sure what happened there. That aside, this weekend at Mexico we do have a wet qualifying schedule, so that's going to be quite interesting. Also worth noting in terms of R&D, we are quite a way away now. Haas have brought a massive package this weekend, and there is a clear gap between us and them, and then there's an even bigger gap to McLaren ahead. We do have 3 major upgrades on the way. One of them was meant to arrive this weekend for the front downforce, and it did fail, so we're going to have to get that on at a later date. And also, just to confirm, as you can see, the R&D tree, the regulation change is going to affect only the engine, and there's only 3 parts that are affected, so we're not going to be clamped down too badly by that, so it should be quite reasonable and quite fair to be able to get those upgrades protected. And even then, I still think we should be able to, and will be able to, push on and get more upgrades on the car, especially in the aero and the chassis department. So I'm quite optimistic that this regulation change could open up a big window of opportunity for us to really push forward and take a step forward into Season 2. We now move into Practice 1 though, and I did a pretty good job. The car felt great, and it looks like we've actually got some serious pace around here, which is really exciting. I managed to go quickest in Practice 1 on the soft tyres, and therefore with that we achieve our goal of one of our sponsors to finish first in any session over the weekend, so we should be getting a nice goal bonus at the end of the episode. But we're now going to move into an interview before the qualifying session.
The regulation changes for next season have been announced. How is your team going to cope with the transition?
I think we're going to be really ready for it. I'm excited. It's a massive opportunity for us as a team.
Do you have any comments about this team?
Not particularly. I don't know what the situation is, so yeah, I'm not really too concerned with what they're doing at the moment.
Great. Well, that's everything.
And there we go then, practice is done. We scored a pretty decent amount of R&D points, and like I said, we've got that gold bonus as well in terms of dollars to arrive at the end of the episode. And acclaim-wise, you know, we're doing quite well. We're getting very close now to level 13 as a team, and Mick is slowly ticking over there, and he's getting closer and closer to level 9. But we now move into qualifying here at Mexico. And as you guys saw at the start of the episode, it is a wet qualifying, so that's going to be quite tasty because our pace in the dry looks very promising indeed. So will that translate over to the wet? We'll find out. You'll see here I'm struggling straight away to get the lap underway, and then we had a very unique incident here with Mr. Kevin Magnussen. He let me through. I was going to take my apex, and he just takes me out. Like, it goes down the inside, completely swipes me. So I don't know what the hell happened there. Luckily I didn't get damaged, but it did ruin my first time lap on these tires, so I took it quite slow, you know, took a recovery lap and stayed out there with the fuel I had in the car. And eventually we got around to finish our first time lap, which gave us P10 ahead of Magnussen, just behind Ricciardo, only 1/10 off Pierre Gasly to be fair. We then move on to our second time lap, and this one was a really good one. We found a lot of time, and we made a bit of a mistake, which was a shame because the lap was really good up until that point. But that little mistake heading into the stadium section cost me about 1/10.5, which was a real shame. But the pace still looks good. The lap was still pretty strong, and for good measure, we get a nice clean exit out the final corner, keeping a nice tight line there, and we move up to P12 ahead of both of the Alphas, Gasly and Ricciardo, and just behind Lance Stroll. So the pace looks really good. But we're now going to skip towards the final lap of the session, my best lap of qualifying. Everyone's out there, so it's going to be a question of who can improve the most, but we're going to run on board with our car, the 97001, for a full lap of the Mexican Grand Prix circuit.
Just 30 seconds left in the session.
Here we go, out of the final corner, trying to get the traction down. We lose the back end over the line, and that does cost us a bit of time, to be fair. That big snap of oversteer. I was going to improve by about half a tenth, but I believe in the end I improved by marginally nothing, which was a shame. But having said that, it wouldn't have made a difference. We wouldn't have gone through anyway. The lap wasn't perfect. You know, we lost 2 tenths in the first sector alone, but I do believe it would have taken a perfect lap to get into Q2. There was a lot of people there. If you look ahead of us, you know, Lance Stroll, all the way down to Giovinazzi, all in the 1.6 range. So if we did get a perfect lap, we could have definitely got through. But unfortunately, P17 will have to suffice. In terms of the rivalry breakdown, though, we are 1 point ahead of Gasly, and all we've got left is the race, and that's going to decide the rivalry. Team Acclaim, as you can see, looking pretty good. Again, we're getting closer and closer to level 13. But guys, let's have qualifying. The race is going to be dry, and I think our pace is pretty strong there. So let's see how that goes. It's now time for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what are the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? At 2,285 metres above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners make up a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, and you can expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking too into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Now, I want to talk to you about Valtteri Bottas. There's a real chance they could win the title today. So how do you think they'll handle the pressure?
I think as long as they keep their mind on the task and not its historical significance, they'll be just fine. This is a race just like any other. You do the best you can and accept that sometimes things are going to happen outside of your control. If they can approach today with that attitude, the pressure shouldn't be a problem.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Alexander Albon, and Ricciardo, Perez, Kvyat, Stroll, and Valtteri Bottas. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Gasly, Norris, Kimi Raikkonen, and Giovinazzi, Martinez, Magnussen, Romain Grosjean, and George Russell, Sainz, Schumacher, Latifi, and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Okay guys, so here we go. It's time for the Mexican Grand Prix, starting from P15 on the grid actually. Penalties helping us out quite a lot, and we are starting quite high up, and I feel like we've got some good pace around here, I really do. Practicing the dry was quite encouraging, so hopefully we can try and find that pace here today. At the expense of maybe a bit of oversteer on the car, the back end is quite loose, but I think if I can keep that under control, I think we'll be quite decent today. A race strategy, we're going to start on the mediums. I think that's going to be the better strategy, and then move on to 2 soft tire stints. The game was recommending me to start on the softs, do another stint on the softs, and then finish on the mediums. So I've pretty much reversed it because this is going to be a lot quicker. We'll be a lot more competitive at the end of the race. And fuel-wise, I've gone for 1 lap. I'm going to probably boost that to maybe 1.2 laps extra. I feel like we might need the fuel today, but I want to try and score points. I think that's the target. I think it is achievable if we do things correctly. So let's see how it goes. And without further ado, let's get the race underway for the Mexican Grand Prix. Here we go then. Let's see how we get on in this race. The lights are on. Getting the revs into the sweet spot. Lights out and away we go. Good start from us. Getting away beautifully there. Getting past both of the Alfa Romeos. Raikkonen behind us on the hard compound tyres, interestingly. Quite a conservative strategy from the Iceman. Down towards turn 1, we're going to try and unlock around the outside and see if we can make that work. There we go, that worked quite well for us actually. Using the outside again for turn 3. And that has worked out beautifully up to P11. What a start on the medium tyres. Let's see if we can get Gasly here. This will be crucial for our rivalry because it's going to end after this race. So I believe we drew the last one. So if I can beat Gasly today, that would mean we get an extra 1,000 points on the acclaim bonus. So we do get ahead of Pierre. Important move there. I feel like the soft tyres could fade quite quickly around here, especially the rears. So I think if we survive the first 5 laps, I think we'll start to become quite competitive around here today. So let's see if that's the case. They're battling behind us, Pierre battling with Lando Norris, so that's giving me a chance to pull away here and open up a gap. Let's see if we have some pace on these and we can try and remain competitive and not drop through the field and hopefully not hold up a massive train of cars like we did at USA. Let's see if we can make that work here today. Okay, end of lap 2. We're keeping good pace.
DRS is being enabled this lap. We can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Unlike USA, the fuel consumption seems pretty high around here. Also the ERS consumption as well, so we're going to have to really manage that, I think, in this race and try not to use it too much. I could have sworn I started with 1.2 laps extra. We're down to 0.6, so I must have miscalculated the fuel or got it wrong. Either way, we don't have that much, so I've got to try and manage that from the get-go now. Pace is pretty good right now. We're not holding up a train of cars. Everyone's quite spread out behind us. It's only really Gasly and Lando who are anywhere near close enough to us to make a move, so it's looking okay. Stroll and Kvyat ahead are pulling away quite a bit, but crucially we're ahead of Gasly, our rival. Speaking of which, he's using overtake mode. Here he comes. He's got the momentum on me. He's going to try and go for the move. We're going to hold him on the outside though into turn 1 and force him to sit behind us and wait as we go through turns 2 and 3. I think we should be okay to stay ahead now. The ERS is really powerful around here, and DRS, which is quite surprising given the the high elevation of this track. It seems like we are also a little bit down on straight line speed compared to what we normally are. The engine's still okay, but it just seems like maybe my setup isn't particularly great on the straights. The AI are losing time ahead of us here. Someone's going a bit slowly. Something's happening because they're losing time to me now. The gap was 5 seconds. It's come down to 3 seconds now. I'm curious to see what it is, but we're really closing in on the cars ahead. I think there could be some positions up for grabs here. I think some cars having some kind of issue. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's no issue, but someone was going slowly because everyone got held up. Maybe it's just because they were battling quite heavily. Maybe that's the reason why, because suddenly now we're not catching anymore. No one's going noticeably slow. So I'm not sure. Maybe something, just some kind of battle. Maybe everyone lost a lot of time because we're suddenly back to normality now. I think those soft tires are just starting to fade now. Gasly's been out of DRS for the last 2 laps. He hasn't been able to get within range properly. So we're doing okay here. Pace is pretty good. Okay, Ricciardo pits. Let's see if anybody else does. Gasly pits as well. Our direct rival. So that's good. We've kind of, nerfed Gasly and ruined his soft tyres in the first stint. So now we're going to have the advantage later on in the race once we put the soft tyres on. Up to P10. Now we've got a few more soft tyre runners pitting in this lap. Kvyat pits along with some of the heavy hitters.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the softs.
We're up to P5 now. The longer I go with this stint, the better. I might try and stretch this stint out by a lap or 2 to make it a little bit easier on the soft tyres later on. If I can stretch this stint out by 2 laps, that means 1 lap less on the soft tyres on each stint, which would be pretty good for us, to be fair. And there we go, the remaining cars pit. So we are going to take the lead in the Mexican Grand Prix for a couple of laps at least. I've got my eye on Hamilton. He's the next car down the road. I think we're going to try and stay out until he catches us so that we don't lose time battling. When he does catch me, we'll probably peel off into the pit lane because we're scheduled to pit next lap. So if I can stay out beyond that at all, that would be great news for us. Here comes Lewis. I'm scheduled to pit this very lap, but we're going to stay out. I've got a nice gap to Verstappen behind him, so this is going to work out perfectly because he's going to pass me here pretty easily. So we'll just run enrich mix, use no overtake, and just let Lewis make the move. We'll just sit in the slipstream and follow him basically. Verstappen, new fastest lap. There we go. We'll now follow Lewis here with a bit of slipstream and try and stick with him. See if we can hang in the DRS. Maybe onto the 3rd DRS zone on the back straight. That'd be nice if we can still hang into that point. I think I'm going to pit for the hard tyres. I'm going to change my strategy, I think. Try and go for the 1-stopper. Normally this isn't the quickest strategy, but I'm going to roll the dice. We're in 2nd place. We've had a very good race so far. No interruption with traffic. I'm going to try and go for the hard tyre. I'm going to roll the dice and see if it works. Into the pit lane we go. There we go. Comfortable pit entry, not pushing too much. I think this could be a good strategy because on the 2-stop it means we have to make overtakes. Whereas with this one, if we just find some clean air and do laps, we could be quite competitive. Let's see if this works out.
Release.
And 2-second stop, that's perfect. Here come Gasly and Norris, who was ahead of them, of course, before the pit stops.
Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
And there we go, we're in a nice bit of clean air. Every single car behind us now has pit or has to pit, like Raikkonen's pitting right now. Giovinazzi just pit the lap before. He's on soft tyres, so he'll catch us pretty quickly. But besides that, let's see if we can find some pace on these, try and switch these on. If I can run at a good pace on these, we're in the race, boys, big time.
Some information on Giovinazzi. They have some kind of mechanical problem.
And that is even better. He's right behind us, so that means he's not going to be a threat anymore. So more than ever now, we are lapping in what is pretty much free air. So we can use this, because Sainz will pull away, that's, you know, that's a given. But if we can obviously keep him at around 3, 4, 5 seconds, that would be nice. But we've got a nice bit of free air now to just lap and, you know, pump in some consistent lap times with these tyres. So let's see if we can try and switch these on. Pace is great. We're keeping Sainz in that 2-second window. On for a personal best here. This is really, really good. Half a second improvement. I think this could be a good strategy, boys. I think we're in the money here. That was a good lap. We are 2 to 3 tenths off our personal best, but I gained 3 tenths on Sainz that lap. I think the soft tyres are starting to let go, which is good. My tyres look okay. 12% on the rears. That's pretty decent. Gasly pits, along with Mr. Daniel Ricciardo. All these guys now are going to be on the medium tyre, but they are going to be quite a way behind me, so it's going to be an interesting stint, this one. Really, really exciting. I think tyre strategies are going to come to a head and really play out in a very interesting way. Ooh, Leclerc's out of the race. That's a big one.
Caution, caution.
Confirmation. The Ferrari driver out of the Grand Prix here today. There he is on the right-hand side. He's pulled over. That's massive.
Clear.
We gain another place for free. That's going to help us out massively. And I should be able to get within Sainz's DRS here. And maybe make a move on him this lap, unless he pits, maybe. Let's see. Okay, he pits, never mind. But we are going to get, I believe, DRS for free. Thanks to that. We just got close enough. Yes, we did. Perez and Kvyat there on the pit exit as well. There's Verstappen, and there is Mr. Sebastian Vettel. So we are ahead of a Ferrari in terms of net position in this race. That's how well this strategy has worked out for us. We are up here with the big boys on the one-stop strategy, but of course that will change very soon once Seb gets going. We've got DRS again though. Right, Seb's going to get past there pretty comfortably as the remaining cars pit. Personal best from me, making full use of the DRS. There's one of the Mercedes cars. We actually rejoin ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Here comes Sebastian Vettel then in the Ferrari. Pretty good straight line speed as always, as you'd expect from them. I wonder if I can stay with him. He is on mediums, not softs. Maybe it's possible. My hard tyres aren't too bad just yet. But we're P4 in this race, which is absolutely insane. Now it's the turn of Valtteri Bottas to get past here. We're not going to put up much of a fight. We'll let him get on with it. There's a lot of midfield cars not too far away. The front runners haven't been that quick, it looks like, this weekend. Perez, Kvyat, they're all still pretty close to us, all within 10 seconds. So we're going to have to try and maintain a really strong pace here. We are going to drop down, I think. I don't think we'll finish in P5 in this race, but all I want is points. At the moment, it's looking good. Perez is gaining about 6 to 7 tenths per lap, which means he'll be on the back of me in around 5-6 laps. So I've got a feeling we can finish P6 in this race. That's what I'm aiming for. I think we can beat Kvyat. I think we can stay ahead of him. I really do. It's races like these where my type of racecraft comes in handy. So I get a million comments all the time saying, why don't you use all of your fuel? Why don't you use all of your ERS? And it's because I always save it. And it's for situations like these when faster cars are approaching and I know I'm going to have to battle them. I've got a lot in reserve, so I'm ready to defend my position. I don't have to use it all and then I have to go for a saving period where you have to run lean and try not to use any ERS. I can drive as flat out, as fast as I can every single lap just by using standard engine mode every single lap, and it keeps my ERS and my fuel under control. You know, I use rich on the straights, lean through the slow corners, and that's a good way of keeping the management. And I run a lot of fuel in the car. I always try and keep a lot on board, use the ERS, but not too much. I always try and keep it above 75%. Because that gives you enough, you know, for whenever anything gets a bit tricky, you know, there's a safety car or there's a VSC, you know, someone catches up really quickly on faster tyres, you've always got something in reserve. At the moment, I'm running flat out pretty much on standard engine mode. Perez isn't catching as much now. He only gained about 4 tenths on that lap, so the margin is reducing, and lap by lap, I fancy myself to finish P5 in this race. We've got to try and keep Perez out of that 1 second window as long as we can. Oh, yellow flag in front. I just saw that yellow flag on the next straight. I'm not sure if it's one of the leaders or a lapped car. We'll find out shortly. It's Hamilton. Oh. Oh, wow.
The safety car is out. Keep an eye on the delta. We need to keep it positive to avoid a penalty. Slow
Wow.
down. Maintain positive delta.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any more interesting, it just has. We're now P4 in this race. The problem is we're going to lose all of our advantage we had to the cars behind. You know, if we'd kept Perez behind, that would have been great. If Perez had got by, we would have definitely got P5 in this race. But now, on the restart, we're going to be one of the slower cars on one of the slower tyres and the more worn out tyres. This is why we saved as much fuel as I did over the race, and also kept my ERS charged up because we're going to need this now.
5 laps of fuel remaining.
Right, this is going to be such a big sprint to the finish. This is going to be huge, but we've got a P4 up for grabs now. I think I can get P4 because the benefit of the safety car means I can run flat out engine mode now until the end of the race, so I can use all my fuel. Right, here we go then. It's time for the restart. These hard tyres get cold very quickly. I think we're going to struggle with tyre warm-up at first. I've tried to keep the temperature in, but it's not as high as I'd like. This little stoppage, waiting for the safety car to peel off, has cost us. Look at this. What is the game doing? Why is it put me so far behind? Why has the game done that to me? It's absolutely screwed me over and given me no slipstream. Why has the game put me so far behind? Oh my god, that's completely messed me up. We're now in a drag race here. We've got more cars approaching. We've got to use all of our overtake here. We're going to need a big send on the brakes. Down the inside of the turn 1. Gasly, Perez trying to go for a way through. We go all the way around the outside. Had to really commit to that, but that was horrific. I don't know what the game done there, but that was not fair whatsoever in the slightest. Here comes Perez again. I've had to use all my overtake right now, just in these 2 straights alone. Okay, let's crank up to rich mix. Let's try and use up the rest of the fuel and push on here. We survived though. That was very scary. 1.5 laps to go. They're batting behind. That's perfect. We've got a gap now. Good Fiat and Perez. That's exactly what we want. We've now got a 2 second gap now. Here we go then. Final sector, final lap. We survived the safety car restart after that terrible glitch where we was on some kind of like safety car limiter or like VSC limiter because my foot was flat out but the car was not moving. Either way, Verstappen wins it, but we're going to come through for P4. That is huge. Big points. Yes.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
Victory for the team from Milton Keynes then, after a quality performance. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
Well then guys, there we go. The results are in and it's a really big one for us here today. Max Verstappen picks up the win ahead of Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas gets third. And that is huge for the championship because Hamilton of course retired from the lead of the race. We finished P4, once again capitalising on a race where we had some genuine pace this weekend and also in the dry and also the wet to be fair as well. And also capitalising on strategy and a bit of craziness here and there. That call to go into the hard tyre was key. It wasn't in my plan to start the race. I really thought I was going to go for the soft tyres, but then it kind of hit me around lap 15. I was like, you know what, I can actually probably go for the hard tyres here and take them to the end, and that's exactly what we got. We get our just rewards, which is fantastic. We outscore Sergio Perez, Danny Kvyat, Kvyat, Alex Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, Lance Stroll. Pierre Gasly scores a point, but crucially we beat him, so that should mean we win the rivalry. Lando Norris P11, Kimi Raikkonen P12 with the fastest lap, going to show again that the midfield teams had genuine pace this race. The lap times, if you look on the right hand side, were really close all the way through the field. Sainz, Giovinazzi, Ocon, Grosjean, Magnussen, Schumacher, Russell, Latifi all finished the race outside the points, with Leclerc and Hamilton DNFing hits there, which is massive for the championship. In terms of the standings though, as you can see, the gap between Bottas and Hamilton, 31 points, and you have to bear in mind Hamilton would have actually left here ahead in the championship had he won the race, because you add on 25 points to Lewis and you take away a couple of points to Bottas, it would have been pretty much identical 1 point. So that's how much Lewis has lost out, and with 2 races to go, that may have just given the title to Valtteri Bottas. Max Verstappen with the race win jumps up to 3rd place, overtaking Charles Leclerc thanks to his DNF. And also worth noting, we are still P9, but the battle for best of the rest is on. We're only 7 points behind Daniel Ricciardo in 7th place. It's extremely close, and I think it's going to go down to the wire between Ricciardo, Perez, myself, Norris and Stroll. So there is definitely a 5-way scrap there to finish best of the rest, and with that P4, we've got ourselves right in the mix. Constructors-wise, we pull away from AlphaTauri and also Alfa Romeo as well, and you can see that AlphaTauri also overtaken Alfa Romeo in the process, but we've now got a pretty good cushion, and I think with that result here today, we've now secured a minimum P7 in the Constructors' Championship. But guys, that is it for the race here at Mexico. We're now going to move into laptop time.
Did you struggle to get through all that traffic today?
Not really. It was all about strategy, to be honest, and we played it really well. I think we did a good job. The team did a good job with the pit stop as well, and it all came together beautifully. So I've got to give credit to the team. The car felt good around here all weekend.
It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it?
Well, it's something we've been doing all season long. As a new team, people expect not much, but you want to try and do well, and it's all about the team. We try very hard to do well, and give a good showing of ourselves.
There's quite a buzz around this team at the moment. What are your thoughts on them?
I'm not sure. I think after today's result, I think you should focus on us. We're doing a good job.
After all the teams have updated their cars for next season's regulation changes, where do you think you'll come out?
I think we've got to focus on ourselves, and I'm quite confident we could do quite well. It is a good opportunity, so I think we're prepared for it pretty well.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Okay, there we go then. We tie the rivalry breakdown with Pierre Gasly, which means we are going to win it by 1 point, which means we get the acclaim boost of 1,000 points, which is absolutely awesome. Having a look at the acclaim, we level up quite a lot here this weekend. Mick is now halfway to being level 9, and as a team, we push all the way up to level 13, and we now get a combined acclaim bonus of 36%, so we are really pushing on here and doing a great job. We hit all of our targets this weekend, so we get 1.21 million on the bonus, no damage deduction, so a full payout as well, so a really good weekend. Great points, and a lot of cash as well. We are going to start saving up that cash though, and we're going to spend that over the winter break. So yeah, we're going to start stacking it up. So really key today to hit those goals. Okay, so first of all, we have a sponsorship renewal with DSB Optics. I'm going to change that around because I want to try and go for one that's going to give us guaranteed money. They've been a good servant to us, but I'm going to try something different. So I'm going to bring back Atlantic. I think it's been a good sponsor for us. From the beginning, they've been very dedicated to us, and it's a pretty easy goal to hit, and it's a good weekly income as well. So we're going to sign with them for 95 days. Along with that, we've got a 10-day break until the Brazilian Grand Prix. So first of all, let's assign a couple of activities. So let's have a look. First of all, I'm thinking, we want to try and work on the car and the team. The morale's pretty high, but we're going to keep it high. So we're going to go for a funded team event first and foremost. We're then going to go for something a bit different. I'm tempted to go weight training to help Mick out, but we're going to go aero department focus. Or I say that to be fair. We are doing the funded team event, so we don't really need it that badly. Title sponsor venue opening. That could be quite interesting. We'll go for that one for a change, and then we'll add on, we've got another 3-day period, so we'll add on a sponsor event to improve team acclaim. So that's going to leave us 1 day empty, but that's okay. We're now going to move it over to R&D, and we are going to purchase, of course, the failed upgrade that we should have had this weekend. So then we'll slap that on the car. That should arrive just after the Brazilian Grand Prix, which is a shame. I thought we'd have it for that race, but we're not going to have that. So we're going to have to wait to the last race for that upgrade. Can we protect any of these parts? Yes, we can. We can protect the first one. And do we have enough points? No, we don't. We don't have points for another one. So we'll stick with that on for now. But the process has begun, guys. We're getting ready for next season. Big things on the way. And big improvements are going to be happening very soon. But I think besides that, guys, I think we are ready to go and simulate ahead all the way up until the next race. And there we go, job done. We are at Brazil. Good news, the upgrade for the aerodynamics, the major one on the rear downfalls, has arrived. So that's going to help us out massively in this Brazilian Grand Prix. And of course, we'll have the front downforce one for the final race in Abu Dhabi, along with possibly a final chassis upgrade. So some big improvements on the way, and I can't wait. One more thing we are going to do is protect another part, because we've got a few R&D points in the time simulation. So we'll protect that one as well for the engine power. And there we go. Things are looking up. Things are looking good. And we are ready, guys, for the final 2 races. But if you guys enjoyed this episode of the My Team Career Mode, drop me a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel, guys. I'm trying to hit 50k by the end of the year, so any help would be massively appreciated. If you guys could also check out the 2 videos on your screen, or in this case the video and the full playlist, check them out. You might enjoy them. And also, if you missed out on any episodes, you've got the full playlist at your service. But guys, that's it from me here today, and I'll see you all next time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. But until then, it's goodbye from me.